Hey everyone, here's a quick how to play of Gang Up. The game can be played with 3 to 5 players and on average will take about 45 minutes. Each player is a gang leader and must build up their status to 20 in order to win. You earn status by successfully committing crimes. To pull off a successful crime you must first gather enough gangsters. Once you start the crime, protect your gangsters and make sure enough of them stay on board to complete the crime, because the other players might try to take them out. If a crime is successful, you will gain extra status. If it's unsuccessful, you will lose status. The higher your status gets, the more crimes, gangsters and influences you can play. The table is set up as follows. If you pick a crime from the crime pile, you place it face up on the crime in progress pile. Afterwards you discard it on the crime discard pile. Resource cards are picked up from the resource pile and added to your hand. After resources have been used, they will be placed face up on the resource discard pile. Arrested gangsters will be placed face up on the jail pile. Your headquarters is where you place your gangsters facing up. And finally, your status counter is placed next to your headquarters. The game is played in turns. Let's go through the phases of your turn. The draw phase. Draw a resource card from the resource pile and add it to your hand. Resource cards consist of influence cards and gangster cards. Influence cards can be played at all times, even when it's not your turn. You can only play cards if your current status matches or exceeds the status number on playable cards. This is the core mechanic of the game. There is no limit to the amount of influence cards you can play. Gangsters can only be played in the following phase. Gangster phase. Play gangsters from your hand to the headquarters by moving them to the table in front of you facing up. There is no limit of gangsters in your headquarters, but you do need to have enough status to be able to have them on the table. And if possible, you make a snitch switch and trade a gangster from your hand with one in jail. Just make sure the gangster from your hand has a higher status than the one in jail. The crime phase. If you feel confident you can pull off a crime, you turn over one crime card to see what crime is in store for you. If you don't feel ready, you ignore the crime card and pick a resource card instead. Your turn will end there. Let's pick a crime from the crime pile. Then decide if you want to take the risk by playing the crime. The reward is gaining the status mentioned here. The risk is losing that same amount. If you can't or don't want to do the crime, there's no penalty to let it pass. Just place it on the crime discard pile. Forget about it. To play the crime, you need the required amount of manpower indicated on the card. Each gangster on the table counts as one manpower unless specified otherwise. You can provide manpower yourself or ask another player to help. This ally will gain or lose the rewards mentioned on the card, so you don't have to share. If the minimum required manpower is added to the crime, you may start the crime. Once the crime is in progress, players may try to take out gangsters, for example by playing influence cards or by using gangster actions. If they succeed and the number of gangsters falls below the required manpower, then the crime fails and you lose status. If you still have or regain the required manpower, you are successful and gain the status. A crime falls into these categories: robbery, fraud, trafficking and gambling. Each category has its own risks and rewards. Robbery gets you in the picture and has a high status reward, but if unsuccessful, will send all the gangsters at the crime to jail. Fraud has little appeal in Crime Town and so the status reward is low, but you won't lose status if you fail. Trafficking is more serious and the reward is higher. You'll get 2 extra resource cards if you pull it off. At gambling, the amount of gangsters starting the crime equals the height of the reward, but the chance of failure is high. Some gangsters have an advantage linked to a specific category, so keep track of which crime is on the table and which gangsters benefit you the most. After a crime has been committed or turned down, it will be placed on the discarded crime pile. Finally, the discard phase. Discard your hand down to 8 and your turn is over. Now the next player starts. The game continues until a player reaches 20 status, wins the game and becomes the ultimate crime lord of Crime Town. This is the basic game, but if you played the game a few times, you might also want to add the gang leader and location cards. These will add a new layer of gameplay and fun to the game. Location cards give you special benefits during the game. You can buy locations at the start of your turn before the draw phase. If another player has already bought the one you want, haggle. Gang leaders give you a special bonus skill, but also a negative effect that works against you, so be careful who to pick. For more information, please check out the manual. and have fun.